Hey children, happy Wednesday. This is actually supposed to be airing on a Wednesday, so I'm right this time. Okay, we have a few announcements before we get kicking today. We gotta start at the beginning. Sunday, 6 p.m. Guess what? We're still doing youth group because we're still stuck at home. That is for middle school and high school. I would love to see you all there. That would be awesome for me. If you want to get into the meeting, here's how. You got to use the meeting ID number, and the password is 0123. It's not going to change as long as I'm in charge, or nothing bad happens, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, join us on the WhatsApp group. You're still invited, RVAC students. It has been awesome to share prayer requests and benefit from them, as well as pray for people. And we also, just update one another and stay in contact. It's been pretty cool during this quarantine. Please join us if you haven't already. That'd be great. Also, the Facebook RVAC Student Ministries page. That's really more for parents, but kids, you can certainly go on there too. I post information there from time to time, especially like when we do events and stuff like that involve you guys. So join us there. It's just a good way to get info. Also, you're probably on YouTube right now. I'm not sure where else you're watching this. Go ahead and like it, because you like your church, right? And then subscribe because you really like your church, and then get notified because you really, really like when you see videos the day they come out. So like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, click all, if you're smart, whatever. There's my phone number if you need anything. If you got questions, if you have concerns, if you have ideas for games for youth group or something we could do for youth group, if you have questions, if you're bored, if you fill in the blank, if there's any reason you feel like you need to discuss something with me, a personal prayer request, whatever, give me a call. That's my phone number. If calling is weird because you're young and, awkward, or old and awkward, you can just text me there too. You can always shoot me an email. All that plays. So let's go ahead and get into it today. I'm in Matthew 10, 34 through 39. If you haven't already, go back and watch the previous one. There was a really long section covered, verses 26 through 33. If you haven't seen that, it's going to help you with the context of this one. But remember, here, Jesus is sending out the 12. He's sending them out in pairs of 2, and he's sending them around to the lost sheep of Israel. I'm going to scratch my back while I'm talking to you. It's not weird. Oh, that's so good. He sends them out, and he's sending them out with instructions. I hope this isn't distracting for you. Oh, it's good. All right. He sends them out with instructions. He sends them out with a message, and he sends them out with authority. Remember, to cast out demons, to raise people from the dead. All of the things that Jesus has done, and all the things, or the message that Jesus has been preaching, he sends them out in the same way. Because he sees that the people of Israel are like sheep without a shepherd, that they're harassed and they're in danger. They are lost without the truth. So he sends out 6 teams of 2 in this case. He warns them as well that this is not going to be an easy task. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. He warns them that persecution will come. He warns them that they will be flogged and beaten, and they will be humiliated, and they will be slandered, etc. And he tells them in the next passage not to fear them. Instead, to fear God. Fear God, and you need not fear anything else, is what we discussed last time. And now we get to this section. This is a very difficult to understand passage. In fact, if you're in high school, we've discussed this already in a different, I think in Luke's gospel, we discussed this one. But we're going to go ahead and look at it in Matthew today. It's very difficult to understand, so we're going to break it down a little bit too as we get going. But first, let's read it. Do not think that I have come to bring peace on the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Okay. What is going on here? Jesus first says, I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. That's a picture of a sword over there. In case you didn't know what one looked like. Does it shock you that Jesus would say that, though? That I did not come to bring peace, but a sword? Does it shock you that the Prince of Peace would say, I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword? We talk about peace and goodwill toward men every Christmas when we talk about the birth of Jesus. It just doesn't seem to fit. So what is Jesus talking about? Well, he says that because of him, people will be divided, not united in peace. He promises the opposite of peace. He promises hostility for those that he's sending out. And he promises hostility in the closest relationships that people have on this planet. Father versus son, daughter versus mother, daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, and the people of your own household will be your enemies, Jesus says to them. So Jesus does not promise peace. He promises the opposite. He promises hostility. And he's already warned them that persecutions would come. He's already warned them that people would beat them in their synagogues and that they would be ridiculed and all of these things. But now he's saying that it is going to get deeply personal. Then he uses in the next two verses, he uses similar language. He says, if you love blank more than me, you're not worthy. Okay? First of all, that phrase, not worthy of me, he's not saying that their inherent worth is gone, that the dignity that God gives to everyone, that every image bearer of God already has. He's not talking about that. It's almost, what he's saying is they are undeserving of me. If you don't love blank more than, or if you love blank more than me. So the first one is, if you love father or mother more than me, you are undeserving of me. Does that confuse anyone? I know what you're all thinking. What about the fifth commandment, Michael? Since all of you have the commandments memorized. You can go back to Exodus chapter 20 if you want to read the 10 commandments. But I'll spoil it for you. Honor your father and your mother, that you may dwell long on the earth. Okay? Fifth commandment. First of all, that word more is important. If you love father or mother more than me, this is not a violation of the fifth commandment. This does not give you the right to do whatever you want with your parents if they're not believers, if they're not following Jesus. It doesn't give you a right to be a little punk just because you're a Christian and they're not, okay? You still have to honor your mothers and your fathers, period. It is a commandment. I know some of us even have mother and father wounds. Okay, I understand. It can be a very difficult thing. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, how can I best honor my mother and father in this horrible situation? And that's a different conversation. But what he's saying here is if you love your father or mother more, he's assuming a lot, I know. But generally speaking, if you love your father or mother more than you love Jesus, then you are undeserving of Jesus. The next one he says in 37b, the second half of that verse says, if you love son or daughter more than you. Again, he's going through the most intimate relationships we have on this earth. Okay? And he says, those of your own household. He generalizes it in verse 36 as well. So we know that he's following a similar pattern. But in case you guys, as kids, don't quite get what it means, and I'm not a parent, why don't you ask your parents about this verse? Ask them how difficult it is. Why don't you ask them how this verse kind of sits with them, how it makes them think. Okay, if you're able to ask your parents, if you have believing parents, ask them what this verse kind of does. when they read it, how they encounter it. Okay? They're going to be able to give you the best thing, but I can give you a hint. Your mothers carried you for months. Your mothers went through torture to bring you onto this planet. Your parents have sacrificially given up things that they love so that you could have what you need. Your parents have done this in most cases, that the people that I can see have done this with nothing but love in their hearts, completely motivated by this self-sacrificial love they have for you. How could they love anyone more than you? My mom was actually scared when she was pregnant with my baby brother Tony. He's the second out of 3. She did not know how she could love someone as much as she already loved me. Now that's not because I was, really awesome. I was actually only 3 years old at the time, so I was pretty cool then. Less cool now, okay? But that speaks to my mom's love, not to how cool I was, even though I was a pretty cool baby, okay? But honestly, my mom loved all of us. She, till the day she died, called us her babies. I mean, we were in our 20s, and she's still calling us her babies. So your parents love you. This is difficult. Jesus is still saying, if you love your son or your daughter more than you love me, you are undeserving of me. Now, verse 38, whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. It's sort of different, but what he's saying is if you love yourself more than you love me, then you are undeserving of me. And the hint he gives us is in that phrase, take up your cross. Whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Every person in this Near Eastern audience hearing these words knew exactly what Jesus was talking about. Take up your cross. What he's saying is, let me just paint a picture for you if I can. You see here this from the Passion of the Christ. You see here that the man playing Jesus is agonizing over carrying this cross, and they tried to make this as real as possible. You can see the Roman soldiers with whips in their hands, yelling at him, beating him with those whips, flailing him. You can see the crowd, the mob of people, as they would spit, as they would throw things at the accursed, as they would yell obscenities and their hatred and their opinions of dissent toward whoever was carrying their cross. And Jesus is calling that to mind. He has not yet taken up his cross, literally, but it would happen. But every single person knew about the shame. Every single person hearing this knew of the humiliation, knew of the burden of the cross, and what it meant to carry your own cross to your death, to your final resting place, where you would be nailed, tied, and asphyxiated under your own weight after days of agony on this cross. Everyone knew it was a gruesome illustration that Jesus chose here. Then he summarizes in verse 39, whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. If you choose anything over Jesus, you are choosing to find your own life. And Jesus warns that you will lose it. All these things are temporary. All these relationships are temporary. And it's not that we shouldn't love our father and mother. It's not that we shouldn't love our sons and daughters. It's not that we shouldn't love the people near us. It's not that we shouldn't even take care of ourselves, because we should. What he's saying is if that's the most important thing, if you love those things more than you love him, then you are undeserving of him. And then he says, finally, whoever loses his life for my sake, whoever gives up their life to follow Jesus, whoever gives up, whether that costs them relationships with father and mother, son or daughter, or any other close relationship on this earth, whether that costs, and it will cost you, or whether that costs you just in the things that you want to do, the things that you desire to do most. See, we all have to give up of our own selfish ways, turn from ourselves to Christ. But he says that those who lose their life for his sake, they will ultimately find it. The decision is yours to make. So what do you love? Is there anything you love more than Christ? Is there anything in your life, Christian, these things can sneak in? Is there anything that you need to weigh against your love of Christ and get rid of? Is there anything in your life that to you seems more important than your relationship with him? That's a penetrating and difficult question. It makes me uncomfortable too. I think that I would be wrong if I didn't give another invitation. Some of us perhaps have tried to hold on to our own life, our own way, and it's killing you. Jesus invites you in. No, he's not going to make your life easy. In fact, your life might even be more difficult. But nothing will ever compare with knowing Jesus, with getting to know him for the rest of your life. The longer I am a Christian, the more amazed I am by who he is. The longer I live as a Christ follower, the more gentle he appears, the more kind he is, the more grateful I am to be his child. The more I understand of his love, the more awestruck I am. And so I just invite you, if you're holding on to your life because you just don't want to give up some stuff yet, you don't know what you're missing. And so I would just ask you to reconsider and to give your life to Jesus, the only one who can actually give you life. And I think I may have said this in the last one, but it's not just about giving up your life for Jesus. It's not just about allowing yourself to be persecuted unto death. Okay? We are looking at an extreme example where Jesus is, yes, warning them. But what if Jesus just wants you to live your life for him? Are you willing to do that? Again, the choice is yours, and I just leave you at the point of a decision to make. I hope you will all, again, if you're a Christian, you have to choose this every day. So it is totally appropriate for you to say, yes, Jesus, one more time, 1,000 more times, 1,000,000 more times, okay? So I'm not trying to say that if you have chosen to follow Jesus and you need to do it again because you're not actually saved or something like that, please don't do that to yourself. Trust him. Continue to trust him. But that, again, is a daily decision you get to make. All right? And if you've never trusted Jesus before to be your Savior, if you've never trusted him to take away your sin and to give you new life, well, you have to leave your old life behind and follow him and ask him to come into your life and save you. And you can do that right now. I love you guys. I miss you very much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday, and I hope school is going well for you. Until we see again face to face, God bless you guys.